Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Reveal Report on a Monday, another edition, and it's new season. Like I said, if you're just joining us, as you can see, we're no longer on Fridays, but on Mondays. And I want to thank you all for being here. It's going to be a very interesting show, the world's most haunted places. And we're going to talk about certain locations that are possibly haunted, the energy that it has in this negative world, how it carries it, and it's going to be crazy, guys. I promise you, it's going to be crazy. A lot of things coming up next week. We got another great show with a special guest. Actually, the next 3 weeks, I think we have special guests. So I'll have to post the schedule so everyone can see who's going to be here. I think Gary Wayne is in 2 weeks. He's going to be on. I believe we're going to talk about the Watchers. Who are the Watchers? Do they come from the bloodline of the giants? What is this? The Watchers. People are asking about this. So hopefully Gary shines a little bit of light on that. So everyone is going to be quite excited. Christmas season, the holiday season's around the corner. And it's sometimes a lot of stress and anxiety. And we want you guys to just chill out, relax, and don't let everything get to you. Take a deep breath, guys. It's going to be a wonderful December. As long as you stay positive, guys. It's very important. In this political landscape that we're looking at in regards to the election. People are messaging me, what do you think? You guys know I can't talk about that on YouTube, but I do talk about it on Patreon. And we'll be doing a report on that next week, actually. So hold tight for that. Hey, guys, a big special thank you going out to some people, of course, that always help make this show work, okay? And today we had Paula G. Thank you so much. And Lisa M. for sending us something sweet in the PayPal. And they said, guys, please keep the show going. Lisa sent a message personally today, and she was like, this show should be a great one. I'm excited for it. But I got a question about the Vatican and the kickoff of the Jubilee. What is the occult angle on that? Is there any interest? Can we talk about that? Maybe we'll talk about that next week, Lisa. So we appreciate the question about the Vatican, the Jubilee. Maybe we'll talk about the next week. But I do want to say a special thank you to Paula G and Lisa M for sending us a wonderful gift on PayPal to keep this show on Monday nights for everybody to watch on YouTube. So thank you so much. Guys, without further ado, let's kick off the show and bring on my co-host, who is also an author. And if you haven't heard her before, her link is in the description to take a look at her website and get some of her testimony. Check out some of her books available on Amazon. She is Miss Jessie Czebotar. Hey, Jessie, how are you?
Hey, doing great, George.
Well, today's the day, the world's most haunted places. And I want to say that we have several locations, so we can't do everything tonight. So this is going to be a series. Maybe once a month, we'll do world's most haunted places. Today, I think we're going to cover maybe three. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4. I thought we'd figure we would run some. But where do I begin? I'm thinking, where do I begin? Here's one. Let's begin with a particular castle. There's a lot of castles out there, okay? But I want to talk about this one right here. This one is a very interesting castle. It's called Houska Castle. The travel series did an episode on this. Ghost Hunters, Most Haunted Live. This is a very interesting location because it's said to be a place in the Czech Republic where it could have a possible doorway to hell. And that little square right there is possibly
be the doorway.
The doorway. So I'm going to play a clip to guide us through because they did such a good job, and then we'll add our own take to this. So turn up your volume, everybody. Take a listen to the Houska Castle and what lies beneath. What are its rumors and stories and folklore about it? Here it is, one of the world's most haunted places.
Built 4 centuries after Prague Castle, Houska Castle is its complete opposite. For starters, Houska is located in a remote part of the Czech countryside that has no strategic importance. There's no trade route nearby. In fact, there isn't even a water source. And the castle has almost no meaningful defenses or fortifications. So what on earth is it doing here? The answer lies deep beneath Houska, and it turns out this castle is no fairy tale. It's a place straight out of a horror story. Around the year 1200, local residents start to report strange sightings in these forested mountains. After dark, some claim to witness winged demons flying out of a bottomless pit. But the peasantry's superstitious beliefs hold little sway with the region's duke, and according to a local legend, he's determined to disprove the rumors. The story goes that he brings prisoners from the nearby jail to the edge of the pit, offering freedom to anyone willing to be lowered into the hole and report back what he sees. One volunteer steps forward and begins his descent into darkness. The rope goes down and down. Even the skeptical Duke starts to wonder if the young prisoner will ever reach the bottom. Suddenly, the rope jerks. The prisoner screams in agony and begs to be pulled up. When he finally reaches the surface, everyone is shocked by what they see. The young prisoner has become an old man. Legend says he was so disturbed by whatever he encountered down there that he's put into an insane asylum and dies just 2 days later.
Wow. Just, I don't know, is that just magic? You know, you got to ask, like, what is so disturbing that someone would age like that, you know, by 40 plus years in an instant?
What are your thoughts on the shape or design of this castle, Jess?
Yeah, it's interesting because you have almost, you know, a square, yet, you know, we know that that imagery within the occult represents strongholds, territories, like a lot of forts would be built in a square position, yet, you know, you don't have anything on the, like the four corners, they don't have anything that would indicate, you know, that it would be built off like military. And yet, you know, the other interesting thing is with that pit right in the center of all that, you know, they've got it open above plus below. So
Yes.
is there a gate that goes up and down right in that space, you know?
I mean, could it possibly be a portal? I know that there's a lot of places around the world with
Right.
portals. I wanted to do a show on that. But portals, is it a place with some type of power, some type of energy? Can it be? And if it is, why isn't the military there? I know somebody owns it, bought a castle. I mean, you got to have money to buy a castle. Somebody
Right.
bought this castle, but they say it's to protect whatever negativity is there from escaping or leaving. Interesting stuff. Anyways, your thoughts. Why do you think that the elite haven't purchased this or bought it? Is there another reason, maybe?
Well, you could have if the building itself is serving as a seal. You know, the seal would actually be that area there with the pit where they've sealed, like literally, yeah, that, you know, they've literally sealed something that serves as a, you know, a Solomonic seal that is going to preserve that area, preserve whatever is down there from going out. Yet, if you have innocent people, bystanders, they technically could maybe go in. But yeah, it's interesting.
Well,
I think geometrically it's possible that that is a gate.
it's interesting. Again, some people are wondering, are we live? Hey, we're live, by the way, if you're asking. We are definitely live. It's not pre-recorded. We are live. And people are wondering, again, the name of this. It's Houska Castle. Houska Castle. You could Google it and do some research on it. I'm fascinated. It's a very popular place. Again, it's on different websites. People go to it. It's in the Czech Republic. And I'm fascinated with talking about this gateway, this gateway, this pit to hell, and the story of a man aging. Jess, have you ever heard anything like this? Have you come across anything even militarily? Are there weapons that can age people? Is that a possibility? Can that exist?
I think the answer is yes. There are weapons that can age people. Usually they're more biochemical, or, you get potions, tinctures, different things like that. But usually within, the system, what they're going to do is, these people want to live forever. They want to find things that are going to make them youthful. So usually if there's something that's going to age somebody, it is also going to give that life to someone else. So more than it being a weapon in a, forlorn, forsaken place like that, I would say it would be more of your old school type of witchery where, you've got an old witch that is sucking life out of somebody, you know, and how many years does she just get,
Yeah.
or he, from that person that was lowered in?
You
So
know,
those things are possible.
Lisa makes a great comment, which I was going to reference actually. She goes, it reminds me of Charlton Heston in the Ten Commandments movie. Now, when Charlton Heston, who played Moses, went upon the Mount Sinai to receive the Ten Commandments, and he saw the face of God, he was a younger man. And when he came down, it looked like he aged 40 years. His hair was white as snow. He had a longer beard. It was white. I mean, that's what they portrayed. So it was outlawed to look at God. And he saw his face, and for whatever reason, he aged years and years and years. It's quite scary to think about that. So, what can happen? We don't know any answers, but the place is supposedly haunted. It's in the Czech Republic. They do tours around it so you could see it and see for yourself. I'd love to do an investigation at that castle if that was granted.
Right? We should maybe go to the Czech Republic, George.
Yeah, an interesting day to look into that. And I will say that on that point, Jesse, with this castle, I was just pondering on this hole, this pit, blah, blah, blah. Let me just put this out there. Not that I believe, don't go into the hole, George. Okay.
I don't know, George. Yeah, I don't recommend. We probably, maybe. I mean, maybe if we just jumped in, that
no, I don't.
Probably
Probably not for me. I'll stand up top and use cameras. But where I was going with this is just to tap on the, some of the conspiracies that are out there, if it's possible. I mean, guys, I've seen no proof of this. I can't confirm this. I've seen no proof. I don't know if it exists at all, but is it possible that there's some type of race, civilization underground, the type maybe that they're not human, maybe it's a type of being? I don't know. Is that possible? That scared them? That's something, they have some type of weapon? Again, this is all, it could just, maybe that never happened, Jess. Maybe he never aged, but obviously there's eyewitness accounts. Him and the other jailers, they obviously have to write things. People keep good journals and so forth. But is it possible that it's an underground civilization? We know that there's tunnels all over the world. We know there's caves. We know there's places that people lived. A lot of things were built. What's going on? Just give me your thoughts on that specifically.
I think it's plausible, I mean, it's plausible that he went down, he saw something, maybe it's a different time period. Maybe it was things he didn't understand. But yet that still wouldn't explain, like you would think if somebody went down and saw things, like whether it was visions, whether it was real, there was a different time period. Would that be enough to cause somebody so much physical stress that they're going to age that many years that quickly? I mean, it has to be something completely horrifying, which implies that it's going to be things that, literally scare the heck out of the poor person.
Yeah.
Not like your typical, oh, there's a new society down here,
Yeah. Will says, better to send something down with a camera and a microphone. I agree. I wouldn't go down. But we all know that there's a possible inner Earth civilization. We know about the black sun. I don't know if we ever touched on that. Maybe we got to do a show on the black sun, center of the Earth. Guys, there's a lot of things we still haven't touched on that could be very interesting. But again, no answers. We don't know. There's no conclusion. But that's the story that's going for one of the most haunted places in the world. It's called Houska Castle. Moving along, Jess. Moving along, there's another location I want to touch on. This one is a bit dramatic. It's dark. It's evil. It's sad. So I want to warn everybody in advance before I start talking the story. And it's a place in Japan. Okay, it's called the Okigahara. It's also known as Suicide Forest, in a dense woodland in Japan, and has a reputation to be haunted. Sightings of beings, of ghosts, the history of death and spirits associated with this area. There's a mythology to it. It's very, very scary, this place. And I have a clip I'd like to share with everybody. I got two, actually. Let's share the first one, hear what one person has to say, and then we'll get into it a little bit. So this is about the disturbing forest in Japan. Very popular, famous. Vice did a special on it. Here it is. Take a look.
I'm a professional trail guide living and working in Japan. I moved out here from my native Australia several years ago for work. My job is pretty cool but can be a tad creepy from time to time. One forest I work in is a hotspot for suicides. Sometimes the Japanese authorities hire me to help them find bodies of people that have wandered too far from the path. Generally, these people never wanted to be found if they ventured too far. Because of this, the locals say demons lurk within the massive sea of trees. Lost souls who have been tricked and are now unable to escape the endless maze. I believed none of the tales that locals make up about it until yesterday, when I found a strange tiny diary in a plastic bag washed up along a stream. The contents are extremely disturbing and are making me question my ongoing employment. I need to share this in order to preserve my own sanity. The entry reads as follows. Okigahara, or the Sea of Trees, is a forest in Japan that rests at the base of Mount Fuji. It is a Japanese national park that brings in thousands of tourists every year. It's also known as the Suicide Forest because people have been ending their lives there for hundreds of years. Not everyone who comes here is a tourist though. Many of those who come to this place seek a permanent solution to their temporary problems, including myself. It's a cursed place that serves to draw in the miserable and the damned in droves. The local Japanese say that ghosts or yuri prowl the forest, hoping to lead those who go there off the path and to their demise.
Well, it's like, are there spirits that will be connected to certain places to lure people to their death?
I mean, it's an interesting location. Just the whole mystique around it. And I tried to dig deep about this forest. There are a lot of things found. Some pictures I didn't want to share, very disturbing. People leave keepsakes. Some family members go when they find out their loved ones commit suicide in this park, go there to leave things. Some people leave things there. They write notes and letters. The fact that this has been known to be so dark for hundreds of years, that it's known for people to go to take their lives, there's got to be something attached to this. And I'm not even, maybe not one, maybe several. And we all know, and we discussed it before, in magic, especially the ancient style of magic, they would do it outdoors. Many of it would be outdoors, and it'd be in the woods, in the forest, one with nature, because that was important. Earthly magic, you'd have to be grounded. So we understand this. We understand, and I'm gonna, put money on that there was witchcraft committed in these parks. That maybe there was a murder committed here. One thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Is it possible that a doorway was opened in this park and opened something that wasn't able to close? There's some type of demonic entity that is there, that has claimed this, Jesse, as their territory. This is their turf, their land, which they control. And they absorb all the energy and soul power of other human beings that come into it and that are weak in the sight of, they don't choose life, they choose to go another way, which is dark and horrifying.
Well, you get a spirit of suicide like I dealt with that in the hospital and in the mental health areas, that you'd have people that were, there was a spirit that was oppressing them, that would be tempting them to take their lives, you know, tormenting them with that. So, are there oppressive spirits connected to these woods that, the uncleanness is to tempt people to take their own lives rather than trusting the Lord, or, praising the Lord and having that spirit of despair lifted from them?
Yeah, it's again quite spooky when you hear about these things. Another gentleman had a few things to say about it. He does a pretty nice description of what he feels this park is, almost like telling a story, but it has a good view of the park. So I want to play this quick clip. Take a listen, take a look at what he has to say.
Whisperings from the Okigahara, unseen trails through Japan's suicide forest. Deep within the heart of Japan lies a place shrouded in darkness and despair. The Okigahara Forest, also known as the Sea of Trees, or the Suicide Forest. It stretches endlessly, a labyrinth of ancient trees and tangled undergrowth, where sunlight struggles to penetrate the thick canopy above. The air is heavy, suffused with an eerie silence broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and whispers that seem to emerge from the very depths of the forest. To outsiders, Aokigahara is synonymous with tragedy, a place where lost souls venture to end their suffering. It has earned a macabre reputation as a magnet for those seeking the ultimate escape from their demons. Tales of restless spirits and inexplicable phenomena have woven themselves into the fabric of the forest, heightening its aura of otherworldly dread. Within these dense woods, the atmosphere hangs heavy with an intangible presence, an oppressive weight upon the souls who dare to venture into its depths. The forest's enigmatic allure, like a siren's call, has drawn many to its embrace, both out of morbid curiosity and a desperate desire to uncover its mysteries.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a nice job explaining that. It's interesting, some of the things, that he talked about with that, the eerie silence, that you don't get a lot of even natural sounds in that. You would think in most woods, you're going to have birds chirping and singing, and there's some sort of feeling of life in the majority of, woods or outdoor areas where you go. But he paints a picture that really there's, it feels like there's no life. There's just this heavy blanket of darkness and oppression over the whole area.
I have to put this out there for everybody watching, because I'm trying to piece it together and understand. We know that for 100 years, people go there to commit suicide. When people go there all the time, sometimes to look at the park, and others go there with stress and anxiety. But is there not a Christian community? And it doesn't have to be Christian, because I hate using the word Christian, Catholic, Baptist, just believers in Christ. Are there none in Japan, or monks, or people that could be camped out in front of this park? And hear me out, folks. They're camped out in front of this park. People take shifts. They put their time in, and they stop people going in and just talk to them. Hey, you under any stress? Do you need someone to talk to? Because we live in an advanced society, and I don't understand how there isn't just a sign. They know people might go there to commit suicide,
Right.
But I don't see anything there to distract them. I don't see pamphlets, sheets. People are not there to say, hey, if you have something, talk to us. We're here for you. A monk, a worker. I mean, we send people all over the world in third world countries to preach the gospel. Why can't we send people to this park in Japan to stop people and guide them through, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's, anything of that nature, that we can help in conversing with them? Maybe they just need someone to talk to. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid point, because even, if the oppression is demonic, we know how to deliver from that, that we have the authority to rebuke the spirits and to cast them out. So I agree with you. I think it's a great evangelistic and, opportunity for those who are called by the Lord to do that. Definitely anointing the land. It looks like that needs to be done. But I'm curious, this is only our second one we're talking about tonight. But George, what do you think the impact would be if we started you know, as believers, focusing on these so-called haunted or, you know, tormented places, and we began to anoint and to, you know,
Mm.
dedicate that land, rebuke the spirits. What do you think would happen or shift if that was our focus?
uh, I mean, things could change 100% because the power of prayer and combined with everyone's energy. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I have almost 50,000 followers just on the channel alone. So, Jessica says something here, which, I have an issue with. She goes, they do have warnings and have big boards saying, don't come here to die. Yeah, that does nothing. There's I understand they're putting that to protect themselves, maybe
Yeah.
liability points of view.
That's what I was thinking. It's more of like a liability. We put a thing on there, don't come
Yeah,
here
we
to
said don't
die.
do it. No, that's not enough. That's not
It's
enough.
not enough. I agree.
It needs anointing of the land. It needs prayer of the land. It needs a group to go in there and cleanse, maybe exercise that park and cast out these spiritual negative energies. The time has come in society, in our world, in these places, that we use our energy in the good, not just sit back and watch it on screen. We
Yeah.
need to do something and have action. We need to be, proactive in this. So I'm gonna look into this. I just don't understand
I'll
why we
look
don't have
into
people
it.
that are there to help people, walking in, helping them, handing out sheets. Sometimes it's just sitting and talking to people. And sometimes, like you said, if they're spiritually oppressed, what can we do to help them in that time? So it's a strange situation. When I hear these things, I have to ask these questions.
You do. And I have a question too for you.
Mm.
Have you, it's like I think most Christian people have heard of, exorcism of people dealing with spirits. But talk to us a bit. Is there exorcism of land or buildings,
Yeah.
houses, castles? Okay, there is.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Sometimes we have to go and exercise the house. Things are going on. So, in the Catholic tradition, it has to go to the archdiocese. It has to be approved, but they do have a series of things that have to be proven, and you have to prove these things because if you don't, then they're not going to take it seriously. So there's certain things that have to be done. I know that there's a course that was being taught at the Vatican, and I considered trying to get sponsored to go to that course. And it's the course of exorcism, but they have videos and they have documentaries and they have exorcists that come in and communicate. And not for me personally to be an exorcist, but to take in as much information as possible that I could use later on to help as many people as I can. The more knowledge we have, the more equipped, the better we are.
Yeah,
So
right.
I did consider doing that and going it. And who knows, maybe I'll still might do that. I think it's an amazing experience if I get to do that. But the most important thing here is, yes, places can be exercised. It is possible. And you need to get the right people to do it. I don't think the regular Joe who doesn't have the information could go there and do that. You need strong, powerful people. I like what Kathy has to say here. This is phenomenal. She goes, prayer walk in my neighborhood. That's phenomenal. A prayer walk in your neighborhood. Hey, this happens all over the place. It just goes to prove my theory and my point and how the God works. One topic of conversation leads to another. It's how I know I'm meant to say this, because we had Romero's here, and he would talk about in his testimony, guys, where he was able to astral project and leave his body to go into other locations to haunt, hurt, oppress, and even maybe possess and try and kill in the spirit at these places. And he would say that certain locations, he would say people outside praying and anointing the land. And he goes, we got to stay away from there. That's protected. Yep. So that tells you right there, coming from someone who was a Satanist, who actually committed unbelievable acts of evil. And he talks about what he committed in rituals and magic and how he would go out to attack human beings. And he would say in the spirit, people will be praying over the land, anointing it. And he would say, whoa, we can't go there. So there is power in prayer and anointing and cleansing and purification, sanctification of certain locations. But I wanted to touch that because I think it's so important that we can't just see a place that's haunted and say, well, we can't help it. There's got to be a way. The Lord says we can move mountains. So
well, he reminded me as they were showing the video of the forest too, of that verse where it says, you know, in Corinthians, all creation waits in hopeful expectation for the revealing of the sons of God. And it's like the land cries out for us to do what we were made and created to do. It doesn't cry out for, you know, to be a place of devastation or to be receiving death or, you know, the blood of victims. Like the land cries out for us to step up into the authority that we have in Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, again, guys, these locations are haunted. They are the world's most haunted places, and you can see this is quite dark, but can we help in taking away that energy from those places and replace the negative with the positive? Again, if you want to do more research on it, that is the Okigahara forest in Japan. Interesting, dark place. We'll need to pray over that. When you guys get a chance and you come across a place that you've heard is haunted, always say a prayer if you can of protection for yourself, your family, and those that are maybe walking through or walking by. Important, because these negative entities, they exist. 13 years I spent in the occult and the supernatural and the paranormal, studied demonology, going to places that were haunted, spending overnight. I showed tons of stories, and there's so many more I still haven't shared. I'll save that for the book. But guys, this really exists, and I wanted to touch on it. I want to go on to our third segment, and we touched on this once before. I thought we'd rally back to this and discuss this particular location. It's a very interesting one and something that many people are fascinated with, Jess. And here it is, the Chateau d'Amerois. The Chateau d'Amerois. They say it's one of the most haunted, evil, vile, darkest places on the earth, home to the mothers of darkness. And it's an interesting place. I'll play a clip for everybody if you're not familiar with this location, and then Jesse, I'll give you a chance to comment and add some context to it. So turn up your volumes. This is the Chateau d'Amerois, the home of the mothers of darkness. Here it is.
The elite love their secluded castles and stately homes, far from the prying eyes of the public, where they can engage in perverse and strange practices for the worship of their ancient gods. In Belgium lies just such a castle, the menacing Chateau Amerois. It has been named by researchers as one of the main ritual centers of the Illuminati, but researching it proves difficult. Little information about this castle is available, and the owners appear to be doing everything they can to keep it that way. Almost no pictures of the interior exist online. Even the BBC and National Geographic have allegedly been denied access. The castle's wooded perimeter is heavily guarded, with cameras, electric fences, tripwires, and more. The castle was originally built for Prince Philip of the notorious Saxe-Coburg-Gotha royal bloodline, the same family as the British royals, who are descended from Vlad the Impaler, the original Dracula. Today, it is owned by an elite family of Belgian industrialists called the Solvays. The Solvays are one of the wealthiest families in Belgium. They own large pharmaceutical and chemical companies responsible for the notorious drug Prozac and the industrial-scale production of fluoride and fluoride products that get added to the water we drink. Although officially named Chateau Amerois, the castle is better known as the Mothers of Darkness Castle, due to it being the alleged meeting place of a special rank of Illuminati witches known as Mothers of Darkness. Mothers of Darkness are high adept witches who come from old satanic families. the macabre rituals they perform would make your blood run cold. The candidates for the Mothers of Darkness are subjected to ritual abuse from childhood, resulting in a dissociative mind that is easy to program. Most high-level Illuminati witches have some dissociated identities known as multiple personalities. Mothers of Darkness are programmed and initiated within the mysterious Chateau Amerois.
Mothers of Darkness seem to be like deep satanic priestesses that have also then raised daughters and or granddaughters and have been over many of the women involved. So they are deeply well known in the underground of satanic ritual abuse and multiple personality disorder.
Interesting.
Interesting. The place is quite mysterious, to say the least. And there it is, the Chateau, the Morris. I mean, it's crazy what they say about this place. And I do obviously a lot of reading on this place and what it's about. It was originally purchased in 1849. The bloodline of the people are related to, Dracula.
Yeah, you get the Draco lines and, more of the ancient lines, the bloodlines and stuff. But you get, within the system I talk about, and I encourage people if they can, watch my site, Kingdom Living with Jessie. I've got a new series coming out where I talk about the structure of the system. I start to break down, their signs, their symbols, different things that they use, and how they work and operate. And even within that, I'm starting to break down the different positions within the system, the Mothers of Darkness being one of those positions. And, in there, I talk about the specific training that they go through. There's a difference between training and then you have programming, and you have programs like, the experiments, the projects, the programs that interface with, between the nations and the different militaries, and even the system's own military, which is the sovereign military order. So I begin to break all that down. And, was this chateau one of the places where, children higher level, even successors to the Mothers of Darkness, are trained? It is. And I even talk about people who are connected to that castle and what type of things that they, what type of training do they do. I wouldn't even classify it as training, nor is it programming. It's like they're literally raising people up to run the entire system. That's the Mother of Darkness's job, is to run the system. And what you have is, they choose 5 women, and each of those women are going to be in charge of a portion that includes, a quadrant, both internationally as well as within the United States. That also includes a portion of the programming for positions within the system, or the training for positions within the system. And based on that, they're going to keep that system going and operating, which, what is the allegiance to? It's to Lucifer himself. So that is the area where they will engage in training, and, they will take their vows, their oaths, and certain ceremonies there. That's why it's so highly guarded, is because they don't want people to see what they're doing to children that they're raising up into positions at those higher levels in the system.
Well, I have to ask this. You talk about how these 5 women are chosen. Number one,
Yeah.
how do they choose these women? What is the criteria? Is it bloodline related? Do they do spells, rituals, witches? Are they indoctrinated? Do they come from... Talk a little bit about that.
It's beyond bloodline, because they all are bloodline, meaning that they come from, the 14 bloodline families. You have the 13 tribes of Israel, the 13th being an extra son of Joseph. You have both Manasseh and Ephraim represented. The 14th comes through Abraham's first son, which is Ishmael, and that's how you get the Muslim Brotherhood. So, the women are chosen from those family lines, but it's more than that because, within that system, they're always looking at, what is God doing? Because to them, God is their enemy. They know what the Bible predicts. They know that there's seasons, there's times, there's events, there's an end time. And that's part of what they're always prepared for in the system is, where are things in that timeline of moving towards the last days. And so, they're going to be pulling people in their high level positions are, they're looking for oracles, they're looking for prophecies. They have certain seasons, people prophesied that are going to come, so they're watching for all of that. Then they're going to do testing because they want to, part of it goes off of God is so amazing in his sovereignty. He's prepared the days, he's prepared the seasons, and he's prepared good works for all of us to do. And those good works are through the power of the Holy Spirit. Well, that's what they want to prevent. They don't want us, doing the good works that God's prepared for us. So therefore, they're going to have individuals in positions that are going to be watching out for those who God has prepared good works for. And they're going to try to thwart, deceive, manipulate, in order to get people to do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. And, that means offering, there's three things scripture says that create that atmosphere of lawlessness, and that's the love of self, the love of pleasure, and the love of money. So, that's what they'll offer is, the fame, the power, the glory, the limitless, as long as you're in good standing, the limitless money. But, in that, I would disagree with that video because, the mothers are not programmed, nor, multiple personalities is something where, they would torture people, create trauma situations in order to make that person disassociate.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at, the system and those who were teachers in the system that are connected to the Nazis as well as high-level occultists like, Colonel Michael Aquino, all that early trauma was from, through the 40s through the 60s. That was the first round of children they were preparing, especially here in America. Then they went to, instead of, getting people to choose to do what they wanted them to do by force and trauma, they went from that programming to what's called, mind construction, which in mind construction, it's based off of ethics and morals. They want, the enemy always wants people to choose to do the evil. And so how do they get people to choose to do the evil? They do that through mind constructs, so like we went through some of that recently with we'll just say the big virus that went through. They put out things like, if you want to be a good citizen, if you want to protect the elderly, protect workers when you go in the stores, wear a mask, stand 6 feet apart. That's a mind construct. They're getting you to choose. Of course, everybody wants to be a good citizen. Of course, you don't want to get other people sick. Of course, you want to be considerate, right, of other people's rights, that they don't want to get sick either, right? So they're getting you to do what they want you to do, the standing the 6 feet apart, the putting up of shields in front of all the cashier stands, the, putting children in their classrooms in plastic bubbles. you know, creating situations where even though children are in the same space, they're now all of a sudden isolated from each other and feel very alone. All their learning goes from being personal to, you know, interfacing with a technological device. So you get where you have different things within that, you know. So that part I would disagree with. You know, it's my belief and personal knowledge that none of the mothers were multiple personality or programmed, which meant,
There's
you know, the harder truth in that is the evil, you know, that they choose to do evil that you can't even imagine.
but there is a form of brainwash. We're all brainwashed in some way, shape, or form. There's got to be, especially on that level. I know you said that they're not, but is there a technique, something they do? Again, a form of brainwash, like you said, money, power, selling them on that, giving them, putting them on. I'm sure when they travel, if they're higher up, they're going to travel not like the regular Joe Blow, if you know what I mean. They're going to travel in a better way. They're going to eat better food. They're going to power. That's a form of mind control, of MK Ultra in some way. We're all.
Wouldn't you say with that there would have to be some sort of reward or something that would cause people to want to do it? But the truth is that at the end of the day, you know, the mothers of darkness, they don't get any, you know, they're not out there, the face front people. They don't get to have, you know, the flaunting of the money like the socialites, the grand high priestesses that we see, like Gloria Vanderbilt or others. You know, they don't get to flaunt anything. They don't get to even show people that they are the mothers of darkness or anything. They don't get money that they get to use, you know, like frivolously. There's nothing that they get, even at the end of the day.
So why do it? Why do it,
They
Jessie?
know, well, exactly. I mean, they serve Lucifer for nothing. At the end of the day, they get nothing. They don't even get to go to heaven. They don't even get to become gods. They don't get to live forever. So, you know, it's like there's nothing there for them.
Yeah,
Yet
it's useless. I mean, there's no win, like you said. At least other witches of different sectors, like musicians. I don't want to go to strategic names at this point in time, but we know that some you know, artists are witches in their right and do have some money, do have some power, do have some clout. But still, technically, when you're on that role, you are a slave. You could be the head of, you know, a particular coven, but orders come down to that coven and you have to follow the orders.
I think that's the main thing, is that there's a captivity that Lucifer has them held captive. You know, there's nothing that they can do unless those chains and bonds are broken. They've been held captive their entire life.
Yeah. There's no win. It's perplexing to me. But you know, not to get off topic, that, you know, that's, you know, a deep dive into the Mothers of Darkness, who apparently use this location, again, not to get away from the most haunted places in the world, but the Chateau Amerois there in Belgium. And here's a question. Why did they build this particular castle on that property? Do you believe there's a particular reason, or the land was cheap and they just got it? Or was there a particular reason that location, that place is where they decided to build this castle? What is your answer to that?
Yeah, I think it's because of the, you know, what's there. You've got a lot of connectivity issues with the ley lines where, you know, you've got a lot of energy. It's a high energy place.
So it's a high energy place. Obviously, it's dark, it's evil. They use it, and if it wasn't dark before, I can tell you it's dark now. I mean, it would have to go through a lot of cleansing and exorcisms, and it'd be a lot of work. I'll have to tell you to cleanse and purify and sanctify that land. But all land is God's land, and anything is possible. Right. So I'm curious to see what the Lord does and His timeline. It's an answer we don't know. You know, too much information about that particular castle, but another place, that you could look into and make you think, Our last segment here, guys, I find very interesting because it's a location slash artifact. What do I mean by that? We're going to get into that. Haunted places slash artifact slash haunted place. I'll tell you what I mean. We're going to get there. Guys, I want you to turn up your volumes as we tell you the story about one of the greatest, and I don't say great in a positive way, but a notorious way, serial killers of all time. Movies that were written were based on his life that you didn't even know about. Movies you watched, you had no idea were based on this real life human being. His name is Ed Gein. So turn up your volume, fasten your seatbelt, take a look at this as we dive in to this psychopath of a human being. Here it is.
Thank you, Mr. Bates.
Norman Bates.
And of course, the original Psycho is based on a real person and real circumstances.
I looked up Ed Gein. How did this person spawn all these ideas for different horror films?
E.T. uncovers how serial killer Ed Gein became the inspiration behind so many iconic horror movies.
People remember Ed Gein right away.
Unearthing unseen interviews with those who knew the infamous murderer.
The Butcher of Plainfield. If Hitchcock's film shocked movie audiences, what happened here outside tiny Plainfield, Wisconsin, shocked the world.
Before Norman Bates, Leatherface, and Buffalo Bill, there was the real-life American horror story.
You couldn't believe that somebody could do something like that. It's really a real sick deal that he pulls.
This is where Eddie Gein lived. He was known locally as a farmhand. His home and barn stood here at a remote intersection several miles outside of town.
Back in 1957, at the end of the year, I was living in a small town in Wisconsin. About 40 miles away, a series of murders had been discovered. Ed Gein was a mass murderer. He dug up graves. He was not altogether the kind of neighbor that you would prefer to have.
After a local woman who owned the store that once stood here went missing, police found a receipt in their search, which led them to Ed.
Will you please tell me what you found here in November 1957?
We looked around the outside of the house, nobody around. We finally walked in that back shed and then into the house. Well, I took his bedroom, and another deputy took the kitchen, and the sheriff took the shed, and all of a sudden he hollered and had found her body. The head was laying on the ground.
They found the death masks of about 10 women. They found pieces of human skin used to stretch over drums and as lampshades.
What went through your mind when you saw this?
Well, it was unbelievable to see something like that. But we knew we had the right man then.
Ed was arrested, yet the town felt no less safe after learning their mild-mannered farmer was anything but.
I had no knowledge he was any different than anybody around, really.
He was a little strange, I guess, if you'd say that, but I'm probably strange to you, too, so.
And after further looking around, we found shoe boxes under the bed. And one shoebox had the face mask of a woman, a tavern keeper in Portage County. So that's the only reason we knew he had at least 2 victims.
Wow.
I mean, just unspeakable evil. You can't even put words to it, you know? Was it the place, or, you know, it's like, what does that all come down to?
Correct. So the place, this was the location on the left. This house was built on this land. That's what it looks like now. The house was torn down. Obviously it was. This is what it is now. It's just farmland, just land, but no one's buying it. It's not being used for it. I probably would have built on it. It's a very dark place. Women were tortured and not in a way where it was done on purpose. He was, guys, this is horrible. The movie Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs, based on this character. He would cut off their face and use it as leather masks. I mean, it's insane. Was the place haunted? Was he psycho? What made him do this? Well, there's one thing that came across that belonged to him, and it was his cauldron. And this cauldron was used to drain the blood of his victims. It was documented in what the police took over, and believe it or not, it come up on an auction. And a particular individual by the name of Zach Bagans, which I've made reference to before, has the Ghost Hunters TV show on the Travel Channel, goes to different locations, paranormal investigator, bought this for his museum. Now, the most haunted places. This object is at this location. Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. The address is 600. Interesting. This location holds that artifact and a bunch of others. I've stated that I've been to this location and that my life was changed in one night. Certain rooms carried these things, and this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the actual cauldron. Now, you can't get to it. There's like ropes here, so you can't reach it or touch it, thank God. But there's a stench to it. I remember being in this room looking at this. My skin was crawling because of the death associated with this. And this, again, is at this museum, which, by the way, for the record, I'm going to tell everybody is haunted. I'm also going to tell you that I heard, and I can't talk about it right now on this show, that there was ritual abuse with people in this house. The basement was used for magic rituals. This came from someone super famous who never talked about it again. This location was used before it was purchased to be a museum. And I'm going to play a clip of Zach Bagans explaining how he purchased this. But before I do, I actually found the footage of Ed Gein being arrested and led out of his house. I'm going to play it for you really quick. This is the actual footage of Ed Gein being arrested. Take a look. Now, he wasn't in handcuffs. They did things differently. There wasn't a SWAT team or anything like that. They brought him out. Again, he seemed to come across innocent. Maybe he was being interrogated, brought in for an interview, but he was arrested. And again, one of the pieces that he used to commit these crimes, these horrendous, evil things, is available to be seen at the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. It's mind-blowing. And it's a scary artifact that I got to see. I was in the room with it. And I'm going to play a clip of Zach Bagans explaining who Ed Gein was and how he came across this object. Take a look.
During my investigations into American serial killers, I've been forced to confront some of the most disturbing crimes of the last century. But when it comes to sheer horror, few can match the terrifying actions of Ed Gein, the Plainfield Butcher. His crimes provided the inspiration for films like Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and one of my favorites, Silence of the Lambs. And it's easy to see why. What investigators found in his Wisconsin home in 1957 continues to shock us almost 60 years later. Now, inside Gein's house of horrors, the police found it was filled with body parts. Some taken from victims he had killed himself, but others dug up from graveyards. Now, Gein was using his gruesome collection to make masks, corsets, and leggings, all part of a horrifying skin suit that he wanted to make and then wear. And investigators also came upon a large cauldron that played a very dark role in Gein's plan. The madman's last victim was strung up over it, field dressed like a deer, draining blood into the heavy metal pot below. Now, that cauldron was sold at auction in 1958 to an antiques dealer, and the cauldron ended up in the back of a garage where it remained until its owner passed away several years ago. Now, immediately after the cauldron was found, those who were standing closest to it became severely ill. And in fact, the people there on the day it was discovered, 5 of them died unexpectedly within the next 18 months. Desperate to get rid of it, the survivors sold it at an auction in 2016 to me. And when I agreed to house it in my museum, they left me with a very chilling warning. Quote, "I think you are knocking on the devil's door. Don't be surprised if he answers." Now, in hopes of discovering who is attached to the cauldron, I asked my good friend, a witch from England, Lady Snake, to attempt to make contact. Rest in peace, Lady Snake. Now, her terrifying encounter with this entity left no doubt in my mind that something truly evil lurks within this artifact. And following this event, I began to wonder if the entity was in fact the spirit of Ed Gein himself, and that perhaps his dark work in this world was far from over.
Now, interesting, a few things. The last point is he reached out to a witch, and then he said, "Rest in peace." So
I know, I caught that too. It's like after she made contact, she died.
She died. So another person died that tried to make contact with the spirit attached to this cauldron. Hello? Maybe not a good idea. However, again, the entity that's attached to this energy, I mean, it's negative. Obviously, when people are dying from it, it's a negative thing. But now it's being housed in this location, the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, Zach Bagans, address 600. This is what it looks like here from the outside. I've been to it. I talked about it. This object here is in this location with other objects, some of the rarest haunted artifacts on the planet are somehow in this guy's building. It's bizarre. And when I went there, I will say some of the people, and again, I'm not trying to pick or choose, but some of the people that were taking us around didn't look like they were in the best health, if you know what I mean. So there are energies that are attached to these things that are negative energies, negative entities. Now, does that and these other things make this museum one of the world's most haunted places? I, who witnessed it, who was there in the building, who knows the backstory of some of these artifacts, can possibly, for certain, tell you, yes, this location holds and harnesses dark, evil energy that'll make your skin crawl, your blood boil. It's very uneasy. It's shocking. It's disturbing, but it houses it. And all those energies combined in one place, not to mention the evil that was conducted in that location before they even opened up the museum. It was already dark. They already did rituals there. Not everyone knows about this. I'm sure it's coming out. But now you bring these artifacts in, it 100% is one of the world's most haunted places. Thoughts first on Ed Gein's cauldron?
Yeah, I mean, such a heaviness, like even hearing the story, the tale of it, you know, there's just so much darkness with it that, you know, it's like we can't even fathom that somebody can actually be connected to things like that, you know. But I think that objects, places can be haunted because of the the evil that's done there. That's how the enemy creates strongholds. And can the enemy make an object like a stronghold? He can. So I think that there's definitely a stronghold with that cauldron.
And with that location, which to me is officially one of the world's most haunted places for many a reason, guys, not just what's conducted there because it already had negative energy, but the association of all the other artifacts. And we're going to do a series about the world's most haunted places every month, so stay tuned. Listen, this was an amazing talk and a great episode as we shine some light on these dark things. But the idea is not just to talk about it and say, hey, there it is. It's to give you a vision, an idea of what's out there, that these things do exist. And one way of protecting yourself over these things is to pray, is to cleanse, is to purify, is to pray over your place, is to take dominion over your home. It is to, if there's something negative, you cast it out in the name of Jesus Christ. You have that power. You have that will. You have that might. This is your territory, your land. This is your homestead. And you need to protect it with all that is right and all that is yours. You don't really need someone to come in and do it for you. You could do it yourself, but you must have faith. You must be clear-minded, seek forgiveness for your sins, and then go out, purify, sanctify, and cleanse that land and make it yours. Jessie, another great show. I want to thank you for being here. We're going to have an after show on Patreon, everybody. You could be a part of it. Join it. The link is in the description. It's a Q&A roundtable. We get to ask questions, and hopefully we answer them for you. And it's coming up next, right after this. Before we sign off, Jessie, how would you like to share with everybody how people can follow and support your ministry?
Yeah, you can follow me on kingdomlivingwithjessie.com. And there you can find my courses, my books. You can find some great gift ideas for the season, including the direct links to my books and those products. So I encourage you to check it out. And my newest series, The Unveiling of the System, there's already videos out for that. So I encourage you to go check those out.
Excellent. And guys, for myself, I want to thank you all for watching and supporting this channel. Of course, we had two great people that helped make this show happen. And I got to reference them because they're out there. Paula G and Lisa M, thank you so much. And if anyone like Paula G and Lisa M could support this channel and the show that you've seen today, if you love this content, if you love what you see, you appreciate it, you want more of it, please go out of your way, go to PayPal, and send a little something our way to keep the show going every single Monday. It means a lot. The link is in the description, and of course, it's right there. Go to paypal.me/George Iceman. Again, anything goes a long way. Mr. Burnsack, the question, is Hotel California haunted? Is it real? On the next episode of the world's most haunted places, I'll dive deep into Hotel California, the story behind it, how the song was written, and everything that has to do with it. Guys, again, I thank you all for watching. Go to paypal.me/George Iceman if you like this and want a lot more shows. Thank you for watching, guys. Jessie, thank you for being here. And we are going to the after show on Patreon coming up next. So thank you all for watching, guys. God bless and good night.